The sun was bright in the clear Montana sky as 12-year-old Ethan Miller climbed up the rocky path. He liked to explore the hills behind his house on weekends. His parents let him go alone as long as he stayed on the paths and came home before dark. Ethan carried his backpack with a water bottle, sandwich, and the field guide his grandfather had given him. He wanted to find some cool rocks to add to his collection, maybe even a fossil if he was lucky. As he reached his favorite spot near the top of the hill, something strange caught his eye. A glint of metal where there shouldn't be any. Ethan moved closer, curious. Half buried in the dirt was an odd-looking metal object. It wasn't rusty like old cans hikers sometimes left behind. This looked new and strange. The object was about the size of a softball, with a smooth silver surface. It had tiny lights blinking on one side. Ethan had never seen anything like it before. He poked it gently with a stick. Nothing happened. "Cool," he whispered, carefully digging around it with his hands. After a few minutes, he freed the device from the dirt. It was lighter than it looked, with strange symbols etched on its surface. The small lights blinked in patterns of green and blue. Ethan turned it over in his hands, wondering what it could be. Far above Earth's atmosphere, aboard the hegemony scout ship Silent Observer, an alarm blared. First Officer Kirax rushed to the monitoring station. "What is happening?" he demanded. "Surveillance node 147 has been compromised," reported the technician. "A native has discovered it and is attempting to access its internal components." "Impossible," Kirax said. "The nodes are programmed to bury themselves if detection is imminent. This one malfunctioned. The native appears to be a juvenile." Kirax frowned. The Galactic Hegemony had been monitoring Earth for decades. The High Council considered humans too aggressive and unpredictable to approach directly. This surveillance network was unauthorized even by hegemony standards, but Kirax's commander insisted on gathering more data on these dangerous primitives. "The node contains classified technology," the commander said, entering the control room. "If the humans reverse engineer it, they could discover our presence before we're ready." "It's just a child," Kirax protested. "Protocol states." "I know the protocol." The commander cut him off. "Initiate Security Measure 3. Kirax hesitated. "Commander, that's an order." Back on the hillside, Ethan found a small seam in the device. He ran his fingernail along it, trying to figure out how it opened. The lights began blinking faster. "I bet Dad would know what this is," he said to himself, putting the device into his backpack. He never felt the beam that hit him. From miles above, a pulse of energy struck with pinpoint accuracy. In less than a second, it was over. On the hillside, only a small scorched patch of earth remained where Ethan had been standing. His backpack lay nearby, smoking slightly. "Target neutralized," the technician reported flatly. Kirax turned away from the screen, his inner membranes flickering with distress. "The High Council will not approve of this." "The High Council doesn't need to know," the commander replied. "Log it as a technical malfunction. The humans will assume it was a lightning strike or some natural phenomenon. They have no way to trace it to us." Meanwhile, Sheriff Paul Bennett was having a quiet day at the station when his radio crackled. A hiker had reported seeing a flash of light on Miller's Hill, followed by smoke. "Probably kids messing with fireworks again," his deputy suggested. The sheriff nodded, but something didn't feel right. "I'll check it out myself. That's where my nephew likes to hike." He tried calling his sister, Ethan's mother, but there was no answer. Probably out shopping, he thought. Still, an uneasy feeling settled in his stomach as he grabbed his keys. What he would find on that hillside would change humanity's destiny forever. Sheriff Paul Bennett's heart stopped when he reached the hill. Where his nephew should have been, there was only a blackened circle of earth and a half-melted backpack. He called for backup and search teams immediately. They combed the area for hours, but found no trace of Ethan. 3 days later, after extensive searches, the official report called it a lightning strike. But Paul knew better. The sky had been clear that day. No storms for 100 miles. He made a call to his old college friend, Dr. Olivia Ward. "I need your help, Liv," he said, his voice rough from lack of sleep. "Something happened to Ethan. Something I can't explain." Dr. Ward arrived the next morning. She had once worked for NASA, designing sensors for Mars rovers. Now she ran her own company making scientific equipment. She brought cases of gear with her to the site. "This wasn't lightning," she said after an hour of tests. "The burn pattern is wrong. And these readings," she pointed to her scanner, "I'm picking up particles that shouldn't exist naturally on Earth." "What does that mean?" Paul asked. Olivia looked up at the sky. "It means whatever killed Ethan came from up there." At the Pentagon, General Frank Howard stared at satellite data. His team had detected an unusual energy spike over Montana 3 days ago. It matched nothing in their databases. "Could it be Russian? Chinese?" he asked his staff. "No, sir," replied Air Force Captain Judy Reeves. "The energy signature doesn't match any known human technology." The general picked up a secure phone. "Get me the president." Within 48 hours, Dr. Ward found herself in an underground facility, surrounded by military personnel. Her equipment had been confiscated, but now they wanted her expertise. "We believe an unknown entity targeted a civilian," General Howard explained. "A child. We need to know what we're dealing with." "You think it was aliens," Olivia said. "It wasn't a question. We need to be certain before we take this higher." They showed her the satellite data and the samples collected from the site. Working with military scientists, she confirmed her initial findings. The particles found at the scene contained elements not on the periodic table. The energy signature showed evidence of advanced technology far beyond human capabilities. This was a directed energy weapon, she concluded after a week of tests. Extremely precise. It targeted Ethan specifically and vaporized him. Her voice cracked slightly. She had met Ethan at Paul's family barbecues. He had been a bright, curious kid. Why? Captain Reeves asked the question everyone was thinking. Why target a random child in Montana? The answer came from the remains of Ethan's backpack. Inside, partially melted but still recognizable, was the alien device he had found. The military scientists had been working on it separately from Dr. Ward. "We think he found this," General Howard said, showing her the device in a sealed container. And whatever he found didn't want to be discovered. The device was unlike anything Olivia had ever seen. Its circuitry defied known engineering principles. The metal itself seemed to shift slightly when not directly observed. "This changes everything," she whispered. The president was briefed that evening. By morning, leaders of major nations were being informed through secure channels. Military forces worldwide went on high alert without public announcement. Paul Bennett was drinking coffee on his porch when 2 black SUVs pulled up. Dr. Ward stepped out, along with several men in dark suits. "Paul," she said, "I need you to come with us. This is bigger than we thought. Did you find who killed my nephew?" "Yes," she said. "And they're not from around here." 1 month after Ethan's death, world leaders met in secret. They gathered in an underground bunker beneath the Swiss Alps. The room was plain, with a large round table and screens on the walls. "We have successfully reverse-engineered parts of the alien device," reported Dr. Ward. She stood before the assembled leaders, showing images on the main screen. It was a surveillance tool with advanced capabilities. "Can we track where it came from?" asked the Chinese president. "Not yet, but we've learned enough to detect similar energy signatures." General Howard stepped forward. "We've discovered 17 more of these devices around the world. We left them in place, but are monitoring them." "So they're watching us," said the British Prime Minister. "The question is, what do we do about it?" The debate lasted hours. Some wanted to try communication. Others wanted to prepare for war. In the end, they formed the Earth Defense Coalition, a secret group to coordinate humanity's response. Meanwhile, in the Galactic Hegemony's Grand Council chamber, High Chancellor Zexar faced angry questions from the council members. An unauthorized surveillance operation. Killing a juvenile native. Do you understand what you've done? Demanded Councillor Trell of the Mayvari Federation. The operation was approved by Regional Command, Zexar said calmly. The termination was unfortunate, but necessary to prevent technology exposure. The humans are primitive but resourceful, said Councillor Vreen. If they discover the truth, they might respond unpredictably. They are pre-FTL savages. Zexar dismissed the concern. They cannot harm us. After much debate, the Council decided to send a diplomatic vessel to Earth. They would explain the tragic accident and offer compensation to prevent any future hostilities. The diplomatic ship Peaceful Bridge prepared for its journey to the Sol system. It carried ambassadors from 5 hegemony species and gifts of advanced technology as peace offerings. On Earth, Dr. Ward was working late in her lab when alarms sounded. She rushed to the monitoring center where Captain Reeves was staring at a screen. "We're detecting an alien vessel entering our solar system," Reeves said. "It's big, about 300 meters long." Dr. Ward looked at the readings. "It's moving slowly, not showing aggressive positioning." General Howard joined them minutes later. "The Security Council is meeting now. What's your assessment?" "They're not trying to hide," Dr. Ward said. "They want us to see them coming." "Could be a diplomatic approach," suggested Captain Reeves. "Or they're so confident in their superiority that they don't need to hide," countered the general. The Earth Defense Coalition convened via secure video. The debate was short this time. The vote was unanimous. "Fire the missiles," ordered the president. 3 days earlier, Earth had secretly launched 6 missiles toward the edge of the solar system. Based on Dr. Ward's reverse engineering, they had been modified with new guidance systems and experimental warheads. Now those missiles changed course, targeting the approaching alien ship. Aboard the Peaceful Bridge, Ambassador Klin was preparing his opening speech when the ship's alarm sounded. 6 objects approaching at high velocity, reported the navigator. "Scan them," ordered the captain. "They appear to be primitive missiles," the science officer said with surprise. "No threat to our shields." But these weren't ordinary missiles. As they neared the ship, they released specially designed payloads that passed through the alien shields as if they weren't there. The explosions ripped through the diplomatic vessel. Emergency signals blared as the ship broke apart. On Earth, the Defense Coalition watched silently as the alien vessel disappeared from their screens. "Message sent," General Howard said quietly. Dr. Ward stared at the screen. "Did we just start a war?" "No," said Paul Bennett, who had been invited to witness this moment. "They started it when they killed my nephew. We're just making sure they know we can finish it." The destruction of the hegemony diplomatic ship shocked the Alien Council. They met in an emergency session that lasted 3 days. "This is unprecedented," shouted Councillor Vreen. "No species has ever attacked a diplomatic vessel." "They couldn't have known its purpose," argued another councillor. "The humans deliberately targeted our ship," said High Chancellor Zexar. "They somehow detected it and had weapons ready. This suggests they understood what happened to the juvenile and made a choice for war." The council chamber erupted in angry voices. This had never happened before. Most species invited to join the hegemony were grateful for the opportunity. Some resisted briefly, but none had ever struck first. On Earth, governments prepared to tell their people the truth. Television channels worldwide were interrupted by a joint broadcast. The President of the United States spoke first. "My fellow citizens, today I must share news that will change our understanding of our place in the universe," she began. 6 weeks ago, a 12-year-old boy named Ethan Miller was killed in Montana by an alien weapon. The president explained how the aliens had been watching Earth and killed Ethan when he found one of their devices. She described the alien ship that had entered our solar system and how Earth had defended itself. "Make no mistake," she said, "we are at war. A war we did not choose, but one we will fight with everything we have." Leaders from other countries followed with similar messages in their own languages. Across the world, People reacted with shock, fear, and anger. In a secret facility in Arizona, work continued day and night on a special project. Dr. Ward and a team of scientists had been using the alien technology to build something new. "The drive system is operational," she reported to General Howard. "We've run all possible tests. It works." The general nodded. "And the pilot?" "Captain Samantha Green is ready. She's completed all the simulations." In a hangar behind them sat the Vengeance, Earth's first faster-than-light spacecraft. It was small, designed for speed rather than combat. Built using technology reverse-engineered from the alien surveillance devices, it represented humanity's best hope to fight back. Captain Green was a decorated Air Force pilot with test pilot experience. She had been chosen from thousands of candidates to fly this mission. "Your orders are simple," General Howard told her during the final briefing. "Deliver our message to the nearest alien outpost, then return immediately." Green nodded. "I understand, sir." The next day, Vengeance launched from Earth. Using the new drive, it reached the edge of the solar system in minutes rather than years. From there, it followed the path the alien diplomatic ship had come from. 3 days later, Captain Green approached a space station orbiting a distant planet. It was huge, with spinning sections and bright lights. She activated her communication system. "This is Captain Samantha Green of Earth," she transmitted. "I bring a message from my world." The aliens responded with surprise. They had not expected humans to have this technology yet. They directed her to dock at the station. Green ignored the instructions. Instead, she transmitted the message Earth had prepared. It began with video footage of Ethan's parents at his funeral, their faces filled with grief. Then it showed people around the world preparing for war. Factories building weapons, soldiers training, scientists working. The message ended with a simple statement: "You started this. We'll finish it." Before the aliens could respond, Vengeance turned and disappeared back into space, heading home. In the Hegemony Council chamber, the mood changed from anger to concern as they watched the message from Earth. "They have adapted our technology much faster than should be possible," said one counselor. "We must crush them quickly," said Zexar, "before they become a genuine threat." But some counselors weren't so sure. They had never seen a species respond like this before, and it worried them. 3 months after Captain Green delivered Earth's message, the Hegemony launched their attack. 100 warships entered the solar system, expecting an easy victory. They were wrong. Earth had used those 3 months well. Dr. Ward's team had made more breakthroughs with the alien technology. They had built basic shields for major cities and developed new weapons. Most importantly, they had created 10 more ships like Vengeance, each armed with missiles that could penetrate alien shields. The battle for Earth began in the space near Mars. The Hegemony ships approached in a perfect formation, following standard military protocol they had used for thousands of years. "They're moving exactly as predicted," said Admiral Henry Daniels from the Earth Defense Command Center. "Their tactics are too organized, too perfect. They've never faced an enemy that thinks like us," Dr. Ward replied. She had been studying Hegemony battle records found in the alien database. "They fight like a machine, not like humans." Earth's small fleet of ships waited behind the moon, hidden from the alien sensors. Lieutenant Gregory Jackson commanded one of these ships, the Defiance. "All ships, execute Plan Chaos," ordered Admiral Daniels. Earth's ships broke from hiding, but instead of forming their own battle line, they scattered in all directions. Each followed a different, seemingly random path. The Hegemony commanders were confused by this disorganized approach. "What are they doing?" asked a Hegemony captain. "Their formation makes no sense." The human ships darted between the larger alien vessels, firing missiles at close range before speeding away. The Hegemony ships tried to respond, but their weapons were designed for traditional space battles, not this wild, unpredictable fighting style. Lieutenant Jackson saw his chance when a Hegemony ship turned to chase another Earth vessel. He piloted Defiance directly toward the alien ship's engine section. "Sir, that's too close," warned his second officer. "Exactly," Jackson said with a grim smile. "They're not expecting us to be this crazy." He fired all missiles at point-blank range. The alien ship's engines exploded, leaving it dead in space. Jackson then did something no hegemony commander would ever consider. Instead of continuing the attack, he rammed his ship into the alien vessel's docking bay. "All crew, prepare for boarding action," he ordered. His team had trained for this seemingly suicidal mission. They wore specially designed spacesuits with magnetic boots and carried weapons developed from alien technology. They fought their way through the hegemony ship, facing alien defenders who were shocked by the direct assault. The aliens had superior technology, but were not prepared for the humans' aggressive tactics and willingness to take casualties. After 2 hours of brutal fighting, Jackson's team captured the ship's bridge. Half his crew died in the assault, but they had control of an intact hegemony warship. "Earth Command, this is Jackson," he radioed. "We've captured the enemy vessel. Sending you their command codes now." With these codes, Earth forces could track hegemony ship movements and communications. It changed the course of the battle. By the end of the week, 37 hegemony ships had been destroyed. The rest retreated, stunned by their losses against what should have been an easy target. In the Earth Defense Command Center, Admiral Daniels looked at the battle reports. "We lost 14,000 people," he said quietly. "But we've pushed them back and captured 2 of their ships intact." Dr. Ward nodded. "Now we can learn how their FTL drives really work. We can build bigger ships, better weapons, and take the fight to them," added General Howard. On the wall behind them hung a photo of Ethan Miller. It had become a symbol for Earth's military forces, a reminder of why they fought. In the Hegemony Council chamber, silence fell as the battle reports came in. "How could primitives do this?" asked Zexar in disbelief. "They fight like nothing we've ever seen," said the military advisor. "They don't follow any reasonable doctrine. They take losses no civilized species would accept. They're animals," Zexar declared. "No," said Counselor Vreen thoughtfully. "There's something we've never encountered before, and that makes them dangerous." 5 years passed since the first battle for Earth. The war had spread across nearby star systems. Humans had studied the captured alien ships and built their own fleet of war vessels. Dr. Olivia Ward now led Earth's Xenotechnology Division. Her team had made amazing discoveries by combining human creativity with alien science. The hegemony uses technology in very fixed ways. She explained to Fleet Admiral Lisa Rodriguez. "They never think to combine systems or use them differently than their instruction manuals say." Admiral Rodriguez nodded. She commanded Earth's new space fleet from the flagship Justice. At 52, she had been a Navy admiral before the war began. Now she led humanity's forces against an enemy that controlled hundreds of worlds. "We're ready for the next phase," Rodriguez said, looking at the star map. "Operation Ethan's Shield." The plan was bold. Instead of just defending Earth, human forces would attack key hegemony supply worlds. They wouldn't try to hold territory. They would strike military targets, then leave before the aliens could respond. The first target was Proxima Station, a major supply hub. 3 Earth ships appeared suddenly near the station, using the new stealth system Dr. Ward's team had created. This system bent light around the ships, making them nearly invisible until they were close. "They don't see us yet," reported Captain Noah Wells of the Revenge. Weapons locked on their defense grid. "Fire," ordered Admiral Rodriguez from Justice. The Earth ships fired missiles that carried a special surprise. When they hit the station's shields, they released tiny robots that ate through the shield generators like metal ants. Within minutes, the station was defenseless. "Send the message," Rodriguez commanded. Captain Wells transmitted to the station. "Evacuate all personnel. You have 30 minutes before we destroy this facility." This is retribution for Ethan Miller. The aliens scrambled to escape. Earth forces waited, watching their sensors. When the life form readings dropped to 0, they fired again, destroying the empty station. Similar attacks happened at 6 other locations across hegemony space that same day. Each time, Earth forces gave warning before destroying military targets. They avoided killing when possible, but showed no mercy to military installations. In the Hegemony Council chamber, panic spread. "They're everywhere at once," cried one counselor. "Our sensors can't detect their ships until it's too late." High Chancellor Zexar pounded the table. "How are they advancing so quickly? It's impossible." "Not impossible," said Counselor Vreen. "Just unexpected. Humans innovate faster than any species we've encountered. They take our technology and improve it in ways we never considered." "What do they want?" asked another counselor. "They attack, but don't try to control territory." Vreen looked at the attack reports. They mentioned the same name at each target: Ethan Miller, the child that was killed. "I believe they want justice." "Justice," Zexar sneered. "They're savages seeking revenge." "Perhaps," Vreen said, "but effective savages." Back on Earth, Lieutenant Gregory Jackson, now Colonel Jackson, trained new recruits for space combat. His artificial arm, a replacement for the one lost during his famous boarding action, glinted in the sunlight. "The Hegemony has better ships and more weapons," he told the young men and women. "But they think like machines. You'll learn to think like humans. Unpredictable, creative, and determined." He pointed to Ethan's picture on the wall. "Remember why we fight. Not for territory or power, but because they thought they could kill one of our children without consequences. We're teaching them otherwise." In her lab, Dr. Ward put the finishing touches on her newest invention. It was a device that could detect hegemony ships even through their best cloaking technology. "This will change everything," she said to her assistant. "We'll see them coming, but they'll never see us." The war was far from over, but for the first time, Earth was winning. Another 5 years passed. The war had changed both sides. Human ships now regularly attacked hegemony worlds. The aliens had lost many battles and could no longer ignore the threat from Earth. High Chancellor Zexar, older now and tired from the endless war, called for a special council meeting. "This conflict has gone on too long," he said. "We have lost over 300 ships and 20 supply bases. Our economy suffers. I propose we offer peace terms to the humans." The council, once proud and sure of victory, now nodded in agreement. They drafted a message offering Earth a place in the hegemony as a protected species. The humans would keep their planet but accept alien guidance and limited space travel. On Earth, Admiral Rodriguez presented the offer to the United Earth government. "They want us to surrender without calling it surrender," she said. "They still see us as less than them." President Maria Diaz, who had been elected during the war, shook her head. 10 years ago, they killed a child and expected no response. Now they kill millions and expect us to bow down. That's not the human way." Earth sent a simple reply: "No terms except total surrender. Justice for Ethan Miller." When the hegemony received this response, they were shocked. No species had ever rejected their offer of protection. "We must end this," said Zexar. "Gather all our remaining forces to defend Zentrix Prime. The humans have gone too far." Zentrix Prime was the hegemony's capital world, home to their central government and main defense network. It was their most protected planet, surrounded by defense stations and a fleet of 2,000 warships. On Earth, Admiral Rodriguez and her war council prepared their most dangerous mission yet, Operation Ethan's Memory. "This is our chance to end the war," she told her commanders. "We strike at their heart." Colonel Jackson, now General Jackson, would lead a small strike team on a special mission. "Your team will infiltrate their central defense network," Rodriguez explained. "Dr. Ward has created a device that can temporarily disable their systems. You must plant it inside their main control center." Jackson nodded, his face serious. "We'll get it done, Admiral." The attack began with a massive diversion. 200 Earth ships appeared near the outer defenses of Zentrix Prime, drawing the attention of the Hegemony fleet. While the main battle raged, Jackson's team approached the planet in a small ship disguised as a Hegemony supply vessel. Using codes from previous captured ships, they landed at a secondary spaceport. "Move fast," Jackson told his team of 20 soldiers. "We have 3 hours before they realize we're not supposed to be here." They wore armor designed to look like Hegemony security forces. Dr. Ward had created special masks that made them appear like the gray-skinned Zentrix species. The team moved through the massive capital city, headed for the central tower where the defense network was controlled. They faced several checkpoints but got through using their disguises and stolen codes. "Almost there," Jackson said as they reached the tower's entrance. "Remember, we need to plant the device on the main server level." Just then, an alarm sounded. A security officer had noticed something wrong with their identification. "Plan B," ordered Jackson. His team dropped their disguises and pulled out weapons. They fought their way into the tower, facing increasing resistance. 17 members died reaching the server level. 5 more fell defending the entrance while Jackson and the remaining soldiers placed Dr. Ward's device. "Device activated," Jackson reported over the secure channel. 30 seconds until it triggers. Outside the planet, the space battle continued. Earth ships fought bravely but were outnumbered. They had lost 60 vessels and could not hold much longer. Then suddenly, every Hegemony defense system went dark. Their shields failed. Their weapons stopped firing. Their communications went silent. Admiral Rodriguez's voice came over all Earth channels. "All ships, move to position Alpha. Prepare final approach." The Earth fleet regrouped and moved toward the now defenseless Zentrix Prime. The largest Earth ship, Justice, approached the planet and broadcast a message to the Hegemony Council. "Your defenses are down. Your fleet is in disarray. We can destroy your world now. Surrender or face extinction." In the Hegemony Council chamber, panic spread as screens showed Earth ships surrounding their planet. Their defenses were down. Their mighty fleet was in chaos. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Hegemony faced defeat. "We must surrender," said Councillor Vreen. "They have won." High Chancellor Zexar, his gray skin pale with fear, nodded slowly. "Send the message. The Hegemony surrenders to Earth." Admiral Rodriguez received the surrender on the Bridge of Justice. Her face remained serious as she replied, "Your surrender is accepted. The Earth delegation will arrive in 6 hours to discuss terms. Any hostile action will result in immediate planetary bombardment." General Jackson and his surviving team members were extracted from the planet's surface by a special rescue ship. Of the 20 soldiers who began the mission, only 8 returned alive. "You did it, Greg," Admiral Rodriguez told Jackson as he limped onto the bridge. "You gave us the opening we needed." "Too many good people died to get us here," he answered. His artificial arm was damaged, and he had a new wound on his leg. "Make sure it was worth it." 6 hours later, Admiral Rodriguez led the Earth delegation to the planet's surface. Dr. Ward came too, along with President Diaz and other leaders. They met the Hegemony Council in their grand chamber, now guarded by human soldiers. "Let us be clear," President Diaz began. "This war could have been avoided. You killed a child, then refused to accept responsibility. Now millions have died because of your arrogance." The council members looked down, unable to meet her eyes. "These are our terms," she continued. "First, immediate technology transfers to Earth of all your advanced systems. Second, reparations for the damage you've caused. Third, those responsible for Ethan Miller's death will face justice under human law." The terms continued, each one harder than the last. The Hegemony would be completely restructured. Earth would have equal standing with all other worlds. Hegemony military forces would be reduced by 80%. Finally, President Diaz said, "A memorial to Ethan Miller will be built on every Hegemony homeworld. All your children will learn his name and the cost of thoughtless cruelty." High Chancellor Zexar signed the surrender document. As he did, guards entered with a prisoner, the commander who had ordered Ethan's death 10 years ago. "Justice will now be served," said President Dias. 20 years later, John and Susan Miller stood in the Great Hall of the new Galactic Confederation headquarters, where once the hegemony had ruled with arrogance. Now representatives from hundreds of worlds met as equals. In the center of the hall stood a statue of their son, Ethan. The plaque beneath it read, "In memory of Ethan Miller of Earth, whose death taught the galaxy that every life matters. His loss began a war. May his memory preserve the peace." Susan wiped a tear from her eye. "I still miss him every day." "So do I," John said, holding her hand. "But look what his life meant to the universe." Dr. Ward approached them, now much older but still sharp-minded. "The Miller Doctrine is being taught in every school across the Confederation," she told them. "No species may harm the children of another without severe consequences." Nearby, Admiral Rodriguez, now retired, and General Jackson watched the gathering. Both had gray hair now, and Jackson had new, more advanced prosthetic limbs. "Was it worth it?" Jackson asked quietly, echoing his question from 20 years earlier. Rodriguez looked at the hall filled with humans and aliens working together, then at Ethan's parents standing by their son's memorial. "It shouldn't have happened this way," she said. "But yes, I think it was." Outside the Great Hall, a young Zentrix child placed flowers at a smaller version of Ethan's statue. Her human teacher explained why this human boy was important to remember. "Because of him," the teacher said, "we learned that every child in the galaxy deserves protection. And because of him, we now have peace." The child nodded solemnly. "I would have liked to know him," she said. "So would we all," her teacher replied. "So would we all."